Hey, what's up, everyone? Not really sure what's gonna happen with this video. Didn't really write a script out in advance, but basically, I have to start being a bit more attentive to what I'm eating these days. So, I've started for this year to make more stuff from scratch. There's a lot of different meals that I'm like enjoy, that I like eating, but a lot of the times it would be things like it came out of a can or it lives in the freezer. It's like a packet mix, like things that in order to exist in that fashion, they have to have a lot of sodium in them. It turns out sodium is that can be bad apparently. Or maybe it isn't, but it's something that can't hurt to cut down on a little. So yeah, for dinner tonight on the 1st of January, kick things off, I ended up making a lemon carbonara. What was the recipe? Came from some website, but someone on the Bread and Roses forum did a slight variant of it and posted the recipe. So I thought I'd give that a go. And I recorded myself doing it because I wanted to see if it would be fun to watch me fumbling around on the replay. So I hadn't made anything like this before. Most of the time when I do like pasta dishes, it's a lot of bolognese things, not really something this simple. I will just like go, hey, let's chuck some mince in the pan, and once that's finished cooking, put some pasta sauce over it, put a bunch of vegetables in it, leave it for 20 minutes, and then it's basically done. That's about as much as I would do. This is a bit more involved, but I had a lot of fun doing it. There are a few slip-ups I had. I missed the part where it said it was all of the measurements were for a dish that would serve 3 people. Instead, I had the whole thing, so the flavor was probably a bit much because it was all concentrated in a single dish. Bit too much bacon. Definitely too much citrus flavor. And not enough cheese overall, or at least not enough cheese in relation to the lemon. But it went pretty well, I think, for a first time, just kind of fumbling through. So you get these, you get some shallots or a white onion, and I got a white onion as well while I was out shopping. So I'll try another. I'll try it again using the white onion, see how the taste changes for me, if that makes a difference at least. I don't know that I've ever actually, like, unless it was when I was a child or something, I don't know that I've ever like had to prepare shallots before. So that was a fun experience, working out how I should open it up. I'm pretty sure I got it correct. Just like take off one of the ends, cut it in half. In half along the long edge, so it's just laid flat, and then you don't really dice it the same way you would dice like an onion, because it's much longer. So you just thinly slice it, and then if you need it more fine than that, then you can go back and chop the whole thing up. So the directions on the recipe had said, step 1, put the pasta on. Start the pasta, because by the time all of the other things are done, the pasta will be ready, and you can transfer the pasta with the some of the excess water over into the pan and mix it all together. So that's what I did. I put I started the pasta as at the first step, and then I went to work on doing the shallots and the garlic and the bacon. What I realize now, the first lesson I learned is that I probably should have at least like prepared done all the cutting before putting the pasta in, before even like turning the pasta on. Like I should have just gotten everything chopped up and ready to go, and then turned on the stove. So what had happened was it was actually going pretty well. Pasta was like a water boiling. Pasta's starting to cook, and I've got the shallots nice and chopped up, and I've got the bacon. The bacon's moved over into the pan, and it's sizzling up. And I was about ready to get to start mincing up the garlic, and then I realized that I had not actually cut up 2 shallots. I had cut 1 shallot into 2 halves, and then chopped that up. So it was like everything was on track, but then I had to go back and do the second shallot. It didn't take that much longer, but it was like 2 or 3 minutes, which ended up kind of throwing everything a little bit out of whack. So you chop up the shallots, and they are really nice. They get really nice to prepare, because they're so solid when they're laid flat like that, and they slice really thinly, really easily, and they and break apart. So they went into the pan really nicely. Garlic. I don't know how often I ever actually prepare garlic, like fresh garlic. I decided to do it for this just for the sake of doing everything by hand and getting my hands messy, which is always fun. It's been a while since I've gotten to do that. Normally I would just like get like a jar of like crushed garlic or minced garlic. Fortunately, I remember somewhere in my brain I remembered the sort of the steps to get garlic out of the clove, where you just smack it with the flat side of the knife. So the second main thing that I noticed while I was doing it, that was going like not the way that I think it was supposed to, is that I wasn't really hearing after the initial like minute or a couple of minutes of the bacon cooking up, I wasn't hearing any like sizzle. Like wasn't hearing any sound of like bacon kind of sizzling in its own fat. And then I realized it's because I had gotten cooking bacon, which has basically no fat. It's just the meat, because that's the part that you want to cook with primarily. But the way that the dish is meant to work is that you're cooking the bacon, the fat melts down a bit, and then that helps create the base when you mix in the shallots and the garlic, and then that kind of congeals together before you put the water and the pasta and everything else. So suddenly I've got this dry pan of bacon, and I'm about to try and mix in the onion and the garlic. So I end up just starting to splash little bits of oil in, just to give it a little bit of moisture, which I don't know if that actually works or not, but it made me feel better. So it at least would not be burning the bacon. Although the bacon probably, it could have survived that. It was not in there for overly long. So the bacon all stays in. I probably put in too much bacon. Again, I looked at the recipe and it said 6 ounces of bacon, and then I looked up what that converts to in metric, and I didn't want to get out scales, so I just grabbed a handful of bacon, and I tried to visualize what that would look like, chopped up and mixed in with pasta, and it felt right to me. But looking back on it, I think a carbonara is probably meant to be a much greater pasta content with just like a little bit of bacon sprinkled around, not really equal parts. And it was kind of equal parts bacon and pasta in this dish, which is also great when I was talking earlier about trying to be more conservative on sodium. So then the next steps was before the pasta transfers over, was putting in the seasonings. So that's the pepper, a bit of salt, and lemon zest. And my grater is terrible. So, like, I got plenty of zest off that lemon. Probably exactly as much as I needed, considering it was a dish for one, or I was making a dish that ended up being for one. But most of it just gets stuck in the grater. So, other lesson for next time, I need to buy a better grater. And that also carried over to the to when I had to grate down the cheese. I also did not get specifically Parmesan. It was a very similar style of cheese, but they didn't actually have Parmesan at the shops that I was going to. It worked out pretty well. So yeah, I spent a while grating down that lemon zest, and then I got very, very little of it out. But I ended up overcompensating with lemon juice and with citric acid. So it tasted perfectly lemony anyway. So by the time, but then like because of that, because I wasted time trying to actually get the lemon zest out, and then also the next step after that was going to be put the cheese in, and it was pointed out in the recipe, grate or shred the Parmesan before you start, which I did not do. I then suddenly am spending an extra couple of minutes trying to quickly grate down and eyeball like 50-ish grams of cheese that's grated. And that was probably definitely nowhere near that much, but also, again, recipe for 3, and I made it for 1, so it still needed to be more cheese, but every time, like, it took me so long to grate it down that I ended up looking over and noticing that the pasta had, like, finished cooking, and then also just, like, it had absorbed / boiled off all of the water. Like, there was not any water left in the saucepan pot. There was no water left to use for the sauce. So I did, again, I don't think this is the right thing to do in that scenario, but I ended up just like splashing some extra water into the pot and putting it back on the heat. Just that was, I guess that was mostly just to like keep the pasta itself from like burning or sticking to the sticking like too badly. So this was where I was starting to get like concerned about like how long I was taking on doing everything. Eventually I get the cheese done, and with the cheese that goes in, you're supposed to put about half a cup of the pasta water. Again, there was no pasta water left by the time I was doing this, so I just did half cup water. And the recipe for 3 people calls for 1 teaspoon of citric acid. That was too much citric acid for me to put in. That was objectively far too much citric acid to put in, and I'm pretty sure that was the key thing that made the whole dish just taste way too lemony by the end. Way too lemony, not cheesy enough. I think if I'd cut down on that, it would have been fine. But I was feeling pretty good at least at that point, because even aside from that, since I hadn't tasted it yet, there was water in, there was the pasta in, and it was mixing together in basically exactly the way that I wanted. It was melting the cheese down. It didn't seem like the mistiming of anything had screwed anything up. It was doing exactly what it needed to. So the last like main step is that like once it's all melted down, you take it off the heat, put in some lemon juice to taste, and put in some egg yolks. That kind of gives it sort of a glossy feel. So it took me a couple of goes to get the egg yolks, because it's been a while since I've had to separate eggs. So the first one that I did, I was not paying proper attention, and ended up just dropping like the egg yolk itself. It was pretty much completely separated, and then I just did one more, and it just completely fell out. Second and third ones went much better, but then also instead of just putting the egg yolks right into the pan, I decided to try to be fancy and just put them back into the stand them up so I could do them both at the same time. Shouldn't have done that. That was unnecessarily overcomplicated. Fun fact with eggs, I don't know where I learned this. It must have been from my brother, but I just the way that I always learned to crack an egg. I mean, you can do it, on the edge of a bowl, edge of the counter. You can do the two-hand and one-hand, I can do all those. But the way that I have always started defaulting for the last maybe 5-10 years is just if you want to crack an egg, you get a second egg and you just bash them together. For some reason, only one will break, but always one will break or one will crack, and then that's the one that you open up. If you have a spare egg, if you have a second egg in every scenario, it's always the most convenient way that I find to open up eggs. So little tip there if anyone finds it annoying to try and carefully crack an egg on an edged surface, because when you do that, I gotta open up this egg, and you just put a bit too much force on it because you're maybe it needs one more tap, and then it breaks the whole egg open. This avoids that problem. The worst that's gonna happen is it's gonna indent even further, but it's never gonna you're doing two elliptical surfaces on them, two rounded surfaces on each other. You're not gonna get any sort of complete break in the shell. Well, you're not going to split the shell in half, so that works out really nicely. And then that was pretty much the last step there. Got the egg yolks in, put a bit of lemon juice in. Had I known how lemony it was already tasting, I might not have done that. But those will be things that I can sort of try and fine tune on the next 2 or 3 tries. Mix it all together, and then do a bit of cleanup before I forget. The hardest thing that people it can be the hardest thing to remember when you've finished cooking and you just want to eat, to at least get anything that needs soaking. Just get it under the water quickly before you do it. Get it under the water, then go eat, and then you can come back, and it's a much easier time cleaning up. And then that taste test, and I really liked that first mouthful. That was good. It was it felt like only a hint of lemon on that first one, and I had the cheese flavor. Really, really nice. Then as it went on, then I started to realize that it was just very, very lemony. But I was really, really pleased with how this all came out. For a first attempt, it only took an hour as well, not even, maybe 50 minutes, start to finish. And it was nice and cheap too. Let's see, pasta, bacon, shallots, garlic, eggs, lemon juice. A lot of these things are things that you get once, and then you don't have to buy it again for another several months, or you buy it once and you can use it for another 5 or 6 meals. All up, it must not have cost me more than $20 for all the ingredients, and again, that can be used multiple times. So that was a really good value and just really nice tasting meal. Really, really simple. So yeah, it was a really, really cool way to kick off the year, kick off 2021 with a nice meal. I had just kind of really basic breakfast and lunch. I'm glad I got to do this on the first day, hit the ground running. So yeah, I might do another one of these. I've got some other, just within that that one sort of cooking thread on the forum. There's a few things that I want to, a few other things I want to try out, and then there are other dishes that I want to make. Again, I need to sort of get back into the habit of cooking things again, because I used to do it and just kind of got lazy. So this is a nice one to have gotten started with, have that kind of tucked away as a now something that I feel like I can confidently do. But I had not made something like this before, so it was really a really fun new experience.